Great to be with you. My name is Scott. I get to be the interim teaching pastor here, and it's just great to be with you. You haven't heard anything yet, so just hang on to that. We'll see. Or maybe he was cheering. Maybe he was cheering for interim. Maybe that's what that was. Yeah, not long now. Okay. So here's what we're doing. You caught us, if you're just joining us, you caught us in this series where we're talking about stories. And really the principle is this, that we all have a story. We're just simply stewarding our story that we've been given. We call it 3 stories because we believe that we have a story, everyone around us has a story, and God's story, and he wants us to use our story to connect with other people around us so that we can connect their story to God's story. See how that works? 3 stories. We ripped it off from Youth for Christ. It's a great way to think about sharing our faith, that God has given us stories. So you've landed here today, and we're just going to look at another story in Scripture. So if you want, you can follow along in the Bible. It's going to be up on the screen. If you don't have a Bible, you can always go to the Connection Corner and grab one. We're going to be in Mark chapter 10 today. That's in the New Testament. Matthew, Mark, the second book in the New Testament. That's where we're going to be, Mark chapter 10. But before we get into Mark chapter 10, I want you to keep your finger there. I'm actually going to read a little bit of Mark chapter 11 to give us some context to understand where we're at in this story and what's taking place. So I'm going to read it. It's not going to be up on the screen. Mark chapter 11, it may sound familiar. We normally don't read this text this time of year, and that'll make sense in just a second. Mark chapter 11 says this: as they, Jesus and his disciples, approached Jerusalem and came to Bethphage at Bethany at the Mount of Olives, Jesus sent 2 of his disciples, saying to them, "Go to the village ahead of you, and just as you enter it, you will find a colt tied there, which no one has ever ridden. Untie it and bring it here. And if anyone asks you, 'Hey, why are you taking this donkey?' tell them, 'The Lord needs it, and they will send it back here shortly.'" And he will send it back here shortly. So Jesus sends 2 of his disciples to steal a donkey, basically, is what's happening. What goes on next is they found the colt just outside in the street, just as Jesus said. They take it back to Jesus, and then Jesus rides the donkey into town. People start throwing their coats on the ground, and they start singing, "Hosanna, Hosanna in the highest." This is Jesus in what we now know as what we call the triumphal entry into Jerusalem. The starter pistol has just gone off in all of time where Jesus is riding into town. This begins Holy Week, where he will be crucified, buried, and resurrected. So that gives you context for where we're at in the story, okay? So that's Mark chapter 11. That's about ready to go down. So Mark chapter 10 is where we're spending time, which is the moment right before that, which, by the way, Jesus knew because he had already told his disciples at the beginning of Mark chapter 10, by the way, here's what's going to happen. Again, it wasn't the first time he had told them. The Son of Man, he's talking about himself, is going to be arrested. He's going to be beaten. He's going to be killed. And 3 days later, he's going to rise from the dead. So Jesus had already foretold this in the beginning of Mark chapter 10. The end of Mark chapter 10 is where we're going to spend time, but I have to give you what's happened right before the text that we're going to look at, all right? I'm doing this on purpose. So Mark chapter 11, triumphal entry, right? So Jesus is going to his death. Right before the story where we're going to focus, here's what happened. Jesus is hanging out with 2 of his disciples, James and John, and so verse 35 says this: "Then James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came to him. 'Teacher,' they said," and this is a very courageous thing to say to Jesus. They said, "We want you to do for us whatever we ask." Really interesting that like his 2 best friends are like, "Hey, by the way, boss, we want you to do whatever we want you to do." Jesus' response in verse 36, "What do you want me to do for you?" he asked. A very simple question. What do you want me to do for you? Their answer, verse 37, 2 of his best friends, by the way, like these are guys that have traveled with him everywhere. They're they were his guys. And they're saying, "We want you to take care of us." And here's what they said. "Let one of us sit at your right and the other at your left in glory." They're like, "Jesus, you told us you're gonna be the king and all this, and I know there's a lot of stuff that's gonna happen, but Jesus, here's what we'd love for you to do. We would like the best seats in the house. We would love to be sitting on your right and your left whenever you go do what you're about ready to do. Jesus, can you just promote us? We want to be, one of us will be CFO, one will be CEO. We don't care really which. We want to be in the room with you when it happens. That's it. Can we just sit there with you? We want to be second in charge. Jesus then tells them, I don't think you really know what you're asking. You think you can really do what I'm about ready to do and take on that? And they're like, yeah. And he was like, this is going to not go exactly how you think, fellas. And it's a really interesting dialogue that takes place between them. And Jesus is teaching them about serving. All right. So couched in between Jesus going into Jerusalem, right? Triumphal entry, beginning of his death, burial, resurrection, beginning of that week. And this moment where Jesus has said to his disciples, what is it that you want me to do for you, is this little bitty story where we're going to spend all of our time today. It's in Mark chapter 10. It starts in verse 46. It starts like this. Then they came to Jericho. See why we couldn't just start there? Because if I started with then they came to Jericho, you're like, wait, where were they? Well, they were walking. They're going towards Jerusalem to Jesus' death. Then they come to Jericho, the city. And as Jesus and his disciples, together with a large crowd, were leaving the city, a blind man, Bartimaeus, was sitting by the roadside begging. When he heard it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to shout, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. And the crowd, many rebuked him. They told him, hey, guy, knock it off, be quiet. But he shouted all the more, Son of David, have mercy on me. This series that we're in is all about stories. And I love, because this is another story in the New Testament. It has so many awesome things in this story, classic storytelling. In the beginning of this story, it's kind of like the tension builds, right? We start to understand what's happening. They came to Jericho. So we think we're going straight from this walk with the disciples to Jesus' triumphal entry, but that there's a disruption there. So it's a disruption to the story. They're on their way to Jericho, and then we get the characters. As Jesus, his disciples, and a large crowd were leaving the city, we're introduced to this character named Bartimaeus. But he's got some unique characteristics. He's blind, and he's begging. And the blind people in that time, there was common thought and common belief for a lot of illnesses and a lot of diseases, but especially for people who were blind in that time, that if they were blind, they had done something wrong. If they were blind, that they had sinned in some way that was so big, so atrocious, that God or other gods struck them with blindness, and that it was their fault. People just made an assumption. You're walking down the street, you see a blind guy, and you're like, oh, I bet I know what happened there. And it wasn't like staring at a solar eclipse without the glasses, right? It was like, no, he did something really bad. I've done some bad stuff, but I haven't done anything that bad. You know how I know? I can still see. That's what people thought. That was their logic. They didn't know any better. They didn't know about rods and cones and other eye things. That's my eye knowledge complete right there. That's all I got. I got nothing besides that, right? So they didn't know all of that stuff. There was no Grossnickel at this point, okay? There was no Reinhold at this point. They weren't there. All the people knew is you're blind, you've done something bad. Now, in our culture today, when we see people afflicted with something and they've got something wrong with them, we don't automatically make assumptions that they've done something wrong, do we? Confession, I've got a phone. I've looked at ink-free before. I've filled in the blanks. Oh, I bet I know that story. Oh, yeah. I know how that goes. Oh, I bet I know what happened. There's my confession. I fight it. I try to fight it. But we fill in the blanks with what we think we know. We fill in other people's afflictions with our assumptions in the same way they did in that culture. And if that's not you, and if you don't do that, like, please teach me how to do that, or just stop lying, because you probably do it too. In that day, that was just common. If he's blind, he's done something wrong. He's done something bad. That's who we meet, blind Bartimaeus. He was sitting by the roadside, and then we get some context. He's sitting by the roadside begging. So there's a road, and everybody's walking through, and everybody's just minding their own business, and here he sits begging. Now, probably customarily, what would have happened is he's sitting not on a sidewalk, probably snuggled up against a wall, and when people would see Bart sitting there, they would go all the way around. Like, they're not going to get anywhere close, because whatever he's got, I don't want to get on me. And he's done something so bad, I don't want people to snap a picture with me and him in it. And so I don't want to be even close. I don't want to be associated with him. And if I am going to put something in his cup because he's begging for money, it's probably going to be a jump shot from over here, right? I'm not going to get close. He's sitting on the roadside begging. His affliction was he was blind. Does it say that he was deaf? Anybody? No, it didn't say he was deaf, which meant, and this isn't in the text, but I just picture this. I picture people walking by time after time. Oh, there he is again. There's that guy. I wonder what he did. Oh, I know. You know what I heard? I heard this. And I picture him going, hello, I'm blind, not deaf. I can hear you. Imagine his life. People all the time walking by, saying things, snickering, talking about him. I wonder if it was him. I wonder where he grew up. Or is he, guys, I'm right here. Blind Bartimaeus sitting, begging by the roadside. But then he hears, because his hearing is good. We know that. Because the text says, when he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to shout. I love this. He began to shout, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. He didn't yell, hey, Jesus, over here. He began to shout, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. Why son of David? Well, here's the thing. When he said son of David, what he was doing is he was elevating Jesus from the role of celebrity to the role of Messiah. Everybody else in the crowd is like, hey, Jesus over here. Oh, got it, right? Like me and Jesus, like they're wanting just to be near Jesus because Jesus is the celebrity in town. By this point in his life, remember, like he's about ready to be crucified. Lots of people are following Jesus. There was a crowd. They're interested in the celebrity. This guy, Bartimaeus, he's interested in Jesus as the Messiah, the Savior, the one who can set everything right. And so he screams, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on him. And I love this. Verse 48 said, other people, they began to shush him. My blood pressure goes up when people try to shush me. I got to tell you. When somebody's like, shh, I'm like, Like me and Bart have this in common. Because look, we get a glimpse into his personality. Many rebuked him and told him to be quiet. So here's what he did. He was like, look, I'm down one sense. I'm going to use the other ones that I got. And so he shouts even louder. And he's like, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. And he starts basically saying, you're the Messiah. You could set everything right. I can't see you, but here's what I've heard, and I know enough about you. You're the Messiah. See, eventually, faith finds a voice. When our pain is loud enough, our faith in believing that there's someone bigger, someone who can help, finds a voice. And here's a thought. Just hang with me for just a second. I get the privilege. I get to teach here 4 periods a day. It's awesome. I absolutely love it. And here's one thing that I've noticed, because we've got kids of our own, and like I was a youth pastor for a long time. When I see repeated behavior over and over, the same repeated behavior over and over and over, there's usually something behind that behavior, isn't there? There's usually, especially if it's negative behavior, a lot of times there's pain or there's trauma behind that. And I can either look at the behavior and say we need to stop the behavior, or I can look at behind the behavior and see what got us to that point, and I can start addressing that. The behavior is real easy to get to. stop talking? Would you just stop yelling? Bartimaeus, would you just be quiet? Was him being quiet his issue? That wasn't his issue. His issue was he couldn't see, which meant he had no status, no place, no dignity, no belonging, no acceptance. There are people where we live, learn, work, and play with, that they repeat the same behavior over and over and over, and we watch it land them in some really hard and dark places. And we need to understand that behind the behavior is something that is screaming out, that needs healing, that needs help, that needs hope. That's what Bartimaeus was doing. And he's screaming out. We got to keep going because verse 49, I love this. Super simple. Jesus stopped. Jesus stopped. Jesus stopped and he called him. I was convicted when I read this verse this week because I wonder how often I walk by and around people that are crying out for help and hope, either verbally or just through their behavior. And I just keep going. I just don't stop. I've become numb to it. I scroll past it. I neglect it. But Jesus stopped. And he says, hey, I want to talk to him. Call him. Oh, where's he at? Where's it? Like, there's a bunch of, like, put your phones away. There's a bunch of people around, like, what? Where's he at? Jesus stopped and he called him. Because the principle is this: compassion, if people are crying out, compassion gets the attention of Jesus. Jesus' compassion cuts through. I had to change it because I originally had written something that probably wasn't appropriate. I written, Jesus, his compassion cuts through the crap. And then I realized, there's going to be visitors here and new people. And so I should probably change it. So compassion cuts through the crowd, but then I said crap in the service anyway, but that's why I'm the interim guy. So there you go, right? So compassion cuts through. Here's the question. Do we have enough compassion for the people around us to cut through all the noise to get to people that really need hope, that need healing? Jesus hears this guy and he says, hey, call him. I love this. So they called to the blind man. Hey, buddy, cheer up. On your feet. He's calling you. Cheer up, on your feet. He's calling you. The picture that we get next is this: throwing his cloak aside. So Bartimaeus stands up, and I read this guy this week who said that probably what it was this giant blanket that he both sat on and covered up with. Okay, so we sat on it so that people do throw coins, that it's like a cape that collects everything, right? And he could get all of his stuff. All he's got to do is stand up, grab his stuff, and right, like a hobo, throws it on his back, right? And then he can start walking, and feeling his way. That's probably what it was. So what it says is throwing his cloak aside, he jumped to his feet, he leaves that, and where's he going? He can't see. Jumping to his feet, he came to Jesus. I picture him walking through the crowd like, is that like, okay, you're not Jesus, like you're not, like, is it you? And then they're like, no, he's over there, he's over there, he's over there. People still at this point, they're probably like, back up, right? Don't touch me, don't touch me. And he finds his way to Jesus. And look at this question that he says. He finds his way to Jesus. And look at what Jesus says to him in verse 51. What do you want me to do for you? Does that question at all, did anybody have a light bulb go off? Did anybody hear that question before at any other point today? Jesus said it to his two best friends, James and John. And Jesus looks at the blind beggar and asks him the exact same question. Now, this is just a little bonus track for all of us here today. Whether you've been a best friend of Jesus for years or you're still blind and begging and broken, Jesus treats you the same way. Nobody said amen in the first service either. I don't know, let that sit, let that sink in. Whether you're best friends or you're the blind beggar, he treats us all the same. You can't say amen now, it's too late. I'm sorry, the moment passed. But that's amazing. So if he asked the same question, I bet this guy probably has the same answer. Hey, so when this all goes down, whatever you're getting ready to do, can I sit next to James and John? It's probably the question he's going to ask, right? Here's the thing. Before Jesus did anything, you think Jesus knew what this guy wanted? He was all God, all man. I think he knew, right? He's like, the dark glasses, the fact that you were feeling people over here, to find me, that you were sitting over there. I think I know what you want. I think Jesus knew what he wanted. He could have healed him on his way over. But I think Jesus just wants us to talk to him. I think he wants us to have a conversation with him. I think he wants us to connect with him. I think he longs for us to have a relationship with him. For me, it's prayer, right? It's us having a conversation with God. So for me, I get up in the mornings and I try to start every day, with prayer. It doesn't happen every single day, that I have this time of study and deep prayer, but a lot of mornings I do. And the way that I do this is not for everyone, but the way I do it is I have a journal that I open up and I write. And here's why that doesn't make me sound super spiritual. I hope what that is I may have some focus issues from time to time, all the time. And for me, I have found that when I write, it slows my brain down and it gets my hand going at the same time, right? So I've got my hand and my eyes are watching what I write and allows me to focus. So I write those things out. And a year or so ago, I pulled down one of my old journals and I was looking, because I don't do this all the time, but I was like, where has God answered prayer in my life? And so I was flipping through and I was reading and I was like, oh my gosh, this is all about me. I just am always writing about me and I need this and I want this. And I do pray for other people. My family's here. I pray for you guys, right? But I pray for me a lot. And then I realized, wait, that's what God tells us to do. He tells us to bring our requests to him. He wants to know what's on our heart, what's on our mind. He wants to know what bothers us, what grieves us. And then after that, I started to add a practice to that where I would try to just listen instead of tell him what I want. And then, all right, there's my request. All right, make that happen. I'm going to work. I try to then just sit and listen and say, now, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to hear? What do you want me to know? Jesus listens. And if you hear nothing else today, I want you to hear this. He listens. Now, there's a whole other sermon that somebody else needs to preach about why he answers and why he doesn't answer and why he answers in certain ways. That's a whole other theological argument that you need to have somebody else take on, because I've got my own things that I'm still curious why he didn't answer in the ways that I wanted him to. That's really big. But the point that I want you to hear this morning is he does listen. He asked James and John, hey, what do you want me to do for you? And he asked Bartimaeus, what do you want me to do for you? See, the thought is this: Jesus listens even before he acts. He was waiting for Bartimaeus to tell him what he really wanted. What was the moment like here? How long did Bartimaeus wait? Or was it right on the tip of his tongue as soon as Jesus said, what do you want me to do for you? The blind man, Bartimaeus, said, Rabbi, I want to see. Rabbi, I want to see. I'm tired of people walking by and talking about me and not talking to me. I'm tired of just every day just crying out. I'm tired. I'm just tired. Rabbi, it seems like everybody else, it's easy for them, but for me, it's like, it's so hard. 2 weeks ago, I was walking and then it started raining and like everybody had gone inside and then I kind of lost track of where I was. I thought I knew where I was. And, I stepped into this, corridor and this lady was like, get out, you can't stay here. And Rabbi, I'm tired. And here's the thing. We live in a world where people who we live with, learn with, work with, and play with, they're tired. And they need help. Go. Jesus said, what? Go? Go? Go. Your faith has healed you. Because everybody else saw me as a celebrity and you saw me as the Messiah. We don't get what Jesus did here. Did he like touch his face? Did he touch his eyes? Did he rub his head? Did he go bada bing? Like we don't know what Jesus did in this moment. But the text tells us immediately he received a sight and followed Jesus along the road. Time out here. Immediately he received his sight and then he followed Jesus? Did he not want to see other stuff? Like, did he not want to oh my gosh, this is amazing. Look, I can see colors. I've got fingers. Look at all this. This is crazy. Every day I go by this. It sounds like a waterfall. I want to go see what that is. My mom. I don't know what my mom looks like. Oh, I want to see this. I want to watch TV. I don't know. What's he thinking? What are you, all the possibilities of all the things that he could have done? He just follows Jesus. Here's the thing. That's inspiring to me because I think I would have been the guy that was like, this is awesome. Thank you. This is so cool. I'm going to go check some stuff out. I've always, Niagara Falls, it sounds really cool. I think I want to go see that. I'm going to go see that. And I want to, I've heard, I'd love to go to a Cubs game. Oh my gosh, I want to see all of this. People talk about this stuff. I've never seen it. But healing, true healing should lead to, and hearing the good news should lead to following. It should, but it doesn't always. When we truly, really understand what it is that Jesus has done for us, I think the natural response is exactly what this guy did. We follow him. Now, I'm going to be a little sneaky, and we're going to sneak back up just into this text because I want to end in a different place on the text. And I can't remember if you guys are going to follow it up here or not, but I want to go back to verse 49, middle of verse 50, 49 and a half. There it is. Jesus stops and he calls this guy. And then there's this little verse snuck in here. We just read over it pretty quickly. But there's an unnamed person or persons here. And look at what happens. Jesus then says, hey, call him. And there's this unnamed person or persons that do this. They called to the blind man. Hey, buddy, cheer up. On your feet. He's calling you. It's so simple. Bartimaeus apparently couldn't hear that Jesus told him. He could hear, so he had hearing. He had the ability to hear, but for whatever reason, he couldn't hear. So someone had to go tell him that Jesus was calling him. Think about that for a second. Something in culture, something in his life, even though he had the ability to hear, was keeping him from hearing Jesus. So someone had to go tell him, hey buddy, cheer up. Cheer up on your feet, on your feet. He's calling you. I'm a little frustrated. I've been with him for a long time. I thought he would call me, but for whatever reason, he's calling you. And they help him up. And they take him to Jesus. And he gets healed. I think that's our job. I think that's our job, is to listen to people's stories, go, wow, that's crazy. Let me tell you part of my story. And the more you share, the more, you know what I realize? You need to cheer up. He's calling you. Because he talked to me. Here's what he did for me. And you need to, I think he wants to talk to you too. You know, it's not, I mean, I'm gonna be careful. It's not silly. I mean, Kirsten, they talked about like giving us chocolate bars and marshmallows, and I ate half of that one earlier. I was hungry. Here's what they did. They set us up with this stuff so that we can sit around a campfire and hear people's story and go, oh, wow, that's crazy. And then we go, well, let me tell you what happened to me. And I did this. And then somebody's like, oh, yeah, this happened. Yeah, and I'm still working through this. For us to then just sit around a campfire eating marshmallows and chocolate and go, wow, I didn't know that about you. But let me tell you, I think there's something happening here. I think he's calling you. Because here's what he did for me. Cheer up on your feet. He's calling. He may be calling you. Let me introduce you to him. I just wanted to set up the date. You guys can figure it out from there, because Jesus did the heavy lifting. The guy that went over, by the way, and helped him up, he didn't heal him. Who healed him? Jesus. Jesus did the heavy lifting. He did the hard work. Our job is just come alongside and go, hey, you want some marshmallows and chocolate? You want to hang out? If you don't like marshmallows and chocolate, that's too much sugar, fine. Hummus and carrots, I guess. I don't know. Like, I don't care what it is. I can't stand hummus. Don't invite me to your house for hummus, ever. Okay? I don't get it's pizza, wings, it doesn't matter. We come over for the game, and in the midst of that, we just do life with people, and we're like, whoa, that's your story? Well, here's what happened in my story. Because think about this. Bart's around a campfire someday, and he's roasting a marshmallow, and somebody's like, hey, Bartimaeus, what's your story? Well, let me use my eyes and my hands and put this s'more on this, and oh, I didn't used to be able to use these. And it wasn't Mitch Reinhold. You were blind? Oh, yeah, I was blind. What? Yeah, I was blind. And then I met this guy, and then this guy walked over and was like, hey, he wants to see you. And he took me to him, and now I can see. That's our job. That's our job. Somebody helped us see. And it's our job to invite people over for s'mores, pizza, wings, a game, and to help them see. God, I love you. Thank you. Thank you for your word. Thank you for stopping on your way on Holy Week, where you knew that all of creation had set up prophetically the day, the time where you were going to start your triumphal entry and fulfill so many prophecies, and you stopped in the middle of that to heal a beggar who was blind. You paused, you stopped, because it was important. So Lord, help us to stop. Help us to stop, to pause, to listen, so that we can just help somebody up, help them see how their story connects to God's story, and introduce them to you. Lord, I pray that you would just use these remaining minutes, these next few minutes. Lord, just use them right now to burn in our minds and our hearts the images and the names of people that you want us just to hang out with and to share with. And Lord, for some of us, that's because we have seen And now we need to help other people see. And Lord, for some people in this room, it may be because they can't see and they need someone to help them see. And so whichever case that is, Lord, I pray that you would put in our minds the people that we can either learn from or that we can share you with. So use this space and use that time and reveal that to us now.